Hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where we debate takes so hot that they'd melt a planet with twin suns. My name is Brody, and I'll be hosting this week's episode with my co-hosts Amanda and Christian as we attempt to discover what story is truly the best from a galaxy far, far away. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing The Mandalorian Season 3, Chapter 19. By the end of this episode, we'll have a definitive answer on where this piece of Star Wars content ranks amongst the rest. Yo, this is 2 weeks we've been in the studio back to back. That's pretty good.
Back to back. I know, we're on a new record.
Yeah. Let's keep the streak going.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
I mean, until we have to leave for Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah.
Which
Then goodbye, studio.
Yeah.
Goodbye, studio. Goodbye, everything. Hello, Europe.
Hello, Europe.
Yeah.
It's the countdown is on. It's happening.
Yeah.
And we also have another guest with us this week
Who is
also going to be at Star Wars Celebration, and I'm so excited to meet her in the real flesh.
The real flesh.
The real flesh, not just the internet flesh.
Not the fake flesh. All right, let's stop talking about flesh and let's bring on our friend Kier.
Welcome, Kier.
AKA Mandaklorian. How are you doing today, Kier? We're
I'm
so excited
good.
to have you.
Oh, I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to meet you in the real flesh as well.
Not the fake internet flesh.
Amanda, before we started the show, you said you have a lot in common with Kier before we even got rolling.
Yes. I remember when Kier first joined Twitter and she was like, "Hey, I am a Star Wars fan and I'm a woman and I'm 6 foot tall." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm all three of those things too."
I love it.
You're the same person.
That's
We'll
a
stick together.
Yes, and I've been watching her as she's been putting together her Star Wars bound Hera cosplay, and I'm just the biggest fan. I can't wait. That's
That's
gonna
gotta
be
be
such a good
top-notch.
costume.
Thank you. Yes, it is not like an official cosplay. I don't have Leku or anything like that. But I've got green in my. I've been putting a lot of thought into it. So
I
thank you.
lmy
Nice.
the creativity behind it.
Nice.
Why Hera? No, I no hate. I like Hera well
Coming
enough.
on strong.
My only question is why her?
She is my favorite. She
Okay.
has always been my favorite. She was the first Funko I got in my Star Wars Woman collection. She speaks to me. I could talk about her for hours, but I really, really love Hera. I love her, and I see myself in Hera, I think, the most. I'm a mom. My partner is very much like Kanan, but
Nice.
not blind and not dead. Other than that, Kanan. So I relate a lot to Hera, and I really respect what she has to go through, and I just think she's just fascinating. So.
Nice.
And yeah, I had to. It's gonna
Very
be fun.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So excited to see you there. I know our mutual friend Luke is pretty much the whole reason we're going. We started the Star Wars podcast, and he
Aw.
connected with us and was just like, "You guys got to go." I'm like, "What even is Star Wars Celebration?" And he's like, "Yeah, I learned all about it." He's like,
Aw.
the day stuff went out, sent us all the info, so we just kind of followed along and
Yeah.
registered, and
Yeah.
here we are. Now we're going across the pond, the very large pond.
Yes.
Star Wars Celebration.
Oh, it's gonna
So excited about it. Excited to meet you there. He said last year there was karaoke, and that's like
Oh
That's
yeah,
all you got to say to
That's
get
my
thrown
thing.
all you
out.
Yeah.
got.
that's
Yeah.
my thing.
pretty
I-
epic karaoke from what I've heard. So I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah.
I am so excited. So excited. You know what I'm also excited about? Talking about this episode. Amanda,
Heck yeah.
what happened in chapter 19? I don't even remember what it's called. The Contrarian?
The
The
Convert.
Convert.
There you go.
Yes. So in chapter 19, Bo-Katan, Din, and Grogu get caught in a dogfight against TIE interceptors outside Bo-Katan's house after returning from Mandalore. They end up outnumbered and flee, leaving us to the main storyline of this episode, Dr. Pershing's redemption tour. We follow Dr. Pershing in Coruscant as he advocates for the New Republic and its amnesty program for former Imperial workers. In his new amnesty housing, he becomes friends with a former co-worker of his on Moff Gideon's ship, Elia Kane. She convinces Dr. Pershing to continue his important cloning research and helps him go out of bounds to track down some Imperial lab equipment in an abandoned Star Destroyer. It turns out Elia was a mole and turns Dr. Pershing in to be reformed again and scrambles his brain using a mind flayer. We then jump back at the end of the episode to Din, Bo, and Grogu where Din brings Bo to meet his mom, the armorer, and he presents proof he's bathed in the living waters of Mandalore, and he and Bo-Katan are now back in good graces with the Watch.
Boom.
Big episode.
Nice.
Yeah.
summary. There was a lot to
Well
summarize.
I know. I miss when the Mandalorian summaries were just 2 sentences long.
Just walked across the desert, got the egg.
Yeah. Yep.
It was such a good episode. And when I looked at our rankings, I'm so proud because today I gave it an 89.2. Amanda gave it an 87.2. But for the first time in history, Christian and I agreed on something.
First time, people.
And he also gave it exactly an 89.2%.
I don't think we
Wow.
mind on
Any episode ever.
on any episode.
Ever.
Which is wild because this one isn't. I mean, it is. It's just not the typical
different.
what you expect to be like the wow Star Wars.
I know.
You know?
Well, while we're coming out swinging, we've only reviewed the first 2 seasons of Mando, Book of Boba Fett, and Andor, and Obi-Wan. But as of right now, this is the second best episode, singular TV episode of Star Wars we've ever reviewed at an 89.5 or 88.53. Maybe it's, hold on, maybe it's
Whoa.
number 3. No, it's number 2. It's number 2. Okay.
Whoa,
Behind
whoa.
Season 1, Episode 6 of Andor, The Eye.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Time.
The runtime helped. It told a
The
story.
runtime definitely
For once,
helped.
it told its own story, stood off on its own. And again, 60 minutes long, but it doesn't matter what you look at with this episode. There was songs from, if you want to look at the immersive universe, songs from The Force Awakens,
top.
songs from Revenge of the Sith.
The Last Jedi.
Deep
Last
chanting, people.
Huh?
So much of that immersive universe was there. It told its own story. But again, so that story element was great. The acting was, I thought, fantastic. And there was so much, like, there's parallelism between characters where you saw so much of like himself, but dealing with similar struggles that Anakin had. And we'll go into more of this later in the episode, but just pound for pound, such a solid story. And it was interesting to see how many folks didn't like it. In fact, I got someone texting me today saying they put money down thinking you were going to call this episode filler, Christian.
Whoa, was that Luke or Harith? They really hate
Just
when
when
I say
you think
filler.
you know a guy.
Well,
I
if
won't say.
anything, it's a Mando sandwich.
It is.
Because it is stuffed with great
and the
stuff.
action, the beginning, the dogfight looked like something out of one of the
yeah,
films.
let's talk about that real quick. We get that dogfight, and I'm like, this you're in the volume.
Yeah, the scale of dogfight scene and the ship. I don't know, just the way we got the gauntlet, like her ship and that sweet people been like the J turn, the stall down and spin around, Top Gun kill.
You get they do this like maneuver where they're all both. And you see this interceptor like going towards it, and you're like, "Don't shoot the ship, not again! I'm traumatized."
Please.
They drop him like Master Chief, just going down this thing.
And I think, is this the second time we've seen TIE as interceptors?
Yeah.
In the Mandalorian show?
No, just in general, because they were appeared in the Return of the Jedi. And have we seen them in any live action things since? I don't know.
Live action? I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or were they introduced in Empire? Were they? I don't know.
What I read last night.
I don't know. I didn't
unless they're wrong.
Do some research on that subject. What did you think of this, Kier?
Yes.
What did you love about or hate about this episode?
No, I'm with you. It really felt like Star Wars with that dogfight, right? I was just like laughing, like pumping my fists in the air. It was very exciting to see. And I have a lot of feelings. I have a lot of thoughts about it, but they're almost all positive. It was a terrific episode in general.
Nice. I totally agree with you. There was definitely like a fist banger moment when Mando's, descent down and then the torpedo shot. Skids off the explosion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was cool to see.
Well, let's start with the story. What about the story did we love? Because in our show, for folks who are new, we break down with the 5 different categories. We have the story, the characters, technical aspects, music, and the immersive universe. Each one of these areas, the 3 hosts give it between 1 to 5 points, 5 stars. And then by the end, you have like kind of a 0 to 100 scale, which is how we get the very precise numbers we have. So everyone here gave it above a 4 for the story.
We gave everything above a 4. Let's just be real.
Yeah, everything about this episode it gave above a 4.
I think it was a daring choice to kind of split this episode in the way that they did, starting off with such a really powerful opening sequence, cold open, and then ending back with the with Mando. Especially when we look back at some previous like Book of Boba Fett, they weren't able to pull that off as successfully as this did, where I was like, okay, this is actually still part of the same story.
Yeah.
And even though it features new main characters, you're seeing kind of how it's building the universe around the extended characters, right?
Definitely. Yeah. And like, yeah, I think it would not have ranked nearly as high if it wouldn't have ended going back to Din and Bo.
Definitely.
Like, I think that's where I would have been more so kind of like, this was a fun, great episode to watch, but was it really servicing the overall story much, getting all this exposition on the side with Dr. Pershing and, you know, the New Republic and whatnot. But I think sandwiching it with Mando's story, that really helped solidify, hey, we're really trying to wrap this together for you, the viewer, and just hang with us here.
Yeah.
There was one thing I wanted to call out that was just sort of playing in the back of my mind as I was watching this episode. It reminded me of Tala in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series when she talks about you just walk in like you belong. That was like going through my mind as Aaliyah is taking Dr. Pershing like behind the scenes where they're not supposed to go, and she just is unbothered by it. Now I have a question for everyone here. What did you think of Elias' character at the start of this episode? Did it change throughout? Did you kind of have a bad feeling and stuck with the bad feeling? I had a bad feeling at first, but then I was like, maybe not. She did a really great job at playing through your emotions.
I didn't trust her with once those cookies were brought in. It was literally come to the dark side. We have biscuits. Like, didn't trust ever. It was literally like you're like Satan. You're tempting with food. I don't buy it. I'm out.
The yellow biscuits, though, right?
Yeah.
They're good, probably, right?
And they're like airplane food. That says more about him than it does her. Why are you like airplane?
I wanted to see her, pawning for the good side, you know, the New Republic. Like, I wanted to see that. So, like, the longer, especially like the first half, I was like, I kind of like this side of her, like this, you know, communications officer that we've seen before. But then throughout the second half, she came off as very like uncomfortably positive, like just cheesy to me. Not that it was a bad part on acting, but it was more so it just came off as too positive, bubbly.
Yeah.
And I was like, it seems kind of insincere.
Yeah.
But it worked. I don't know. And then just the menacing, crank up the mind flayer.
When I'm super nice to you, you always think something's up my sleeves.
I'd never trust
You're like,
anyone.
what do you want, Brody?
No. There are nice people out
We're
there.
like 3 years in. He's playing the long game, I see.
So do you think her allegiance is still with Moff Gideon?
Oh, yeah. I've got a romance pegged on them still. So this only furthers my theory of them.
Yeah, I believe that was your hot take.
That was my hot take.
All right, I love that. You're in like Amanda mode right now, pegging romance.
I'm just having fun with Star Wars, you know.
Although this week I did say I was like, you know, Bo-Katan and Mando would be a good couple, actually.
Right?
I know. Yeah, like I said, he goes and takes her to meet his mom, the armorer.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big step.
Yeah, and if you're gonna love my son,
and then
you're gonna adhere to my rules, my ways, all right?
This is my house.
And then we even got little Grogu trying to say his first words. Mando says, "This is the way," and then Bo-Katan says, "This is the way," and then Grogu says, "We're like, this is the way, Grogu."
Did you have any elements that stuck out to you throughout the story, Kier, that were just like, you know, because obviously we've given this a lot of high praise to this point for being what it is. What is there anything, maybe some single moment or anything that really stood out to you about this episode from the story perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I thought there was a lot of really great development in Bo-Katan's character. I think we saw a lot of her being put into uncomfortable positions, which is something that she traditionally hasn't dealt well with. And so her even from being like, "Did you see anything alive in the water?" to not acknowledging the mythosaur, to being a part of the watch, like to all of a sudden her house is all blown up. Like she's going through a lot right now, and I really enjoyed seeing her in those moments. And while we had the helmet over her when she was I was gonna say indoctrinated into the watch, but when she was allowed into the watch, I guess at the end, I'm interested to see where she is kind of emotionally because
Oh yeah.
like she's around all those Mandalorians, like patting her on the back and like welcome to the clan, and she hasn't
Yeah.
had that. So is that gonna mess with her? Is she gonna be as like hard, like nosed about it all, or is that gonna warm up her heart? Is that gonna cause some conflict down the road? Yeah, I think
Mm.
so. So that was interesting to see. It's something a little more unexpected too.
Oh
For
yeah.
sure.
I was getting emotional for Bo-Katan. Like, obviously, she starts off this season with nobody. She has a droid that kind of keeps her company, and
Mhm.
everyone has left her. Family's all gone. Her land is gone. Her people are gone. Her community, everything. And then they bomb like the last thing that she had.
Oh yeah.
And now to see her at the end with all of them like just patting her on the back and welcoming her, I felt the emotion that you couldn't see on her face.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then you see her look at the mythosaur
She still
symbol,
hadn't
and
told anybody.
she's the only one that knows. So maybe
She's
she's
got a
keeping
plan.
that in her back pocket.
I
Yeah.
think she wants to take over.
I think
And
so.
she
I
wants to
think
she
that's
already wants
funny.
I think
Mhm.
it's at
figure out-
least safe to
she's
just
like, I'm not gonna, you know what, Mando, you keep that dark saber.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I got something else.
I'm gonna write a mythosaur for these folks,
Yeah.
and we're gonna do it my own way. I'm not gonna do this helmet stuff anymore. I'm gonna bring in some new rules, and I think she's got some things up her sleeve. So
For sure.
but she's gonna work it. She knows she doesn't have a home. She doesn't have anything. All of her followers have left her. She's gonna get some buy-in from these folks, and
You don't want to play all your cards right away.
yeah,
And I like what KG was saying. Yeah, Bodin, I like this. Bodin made a good team this week.
Yeah.
And they had, they were just,
Mom and dad.
yeah, it wasn't as much as Bo saving Din or Din saving Bo. It was, they really handled that dogfight well. And it was awesome to see it beautifully played
oh,
on
and that
screen.
one
Yes.
maneuver that Bo did in the end was
The
just
J
that one
turn.
wing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was
That
nice.
was
So
It's
cool.
same thing with like Mando's like typical where he flies up in the sky and does that Batman thing where the ship stops and then
Uh-huh.
it goes down, but it had a purpose. And I also really loved that this like he didn't just blast the ship and fly through it like you normally see where a ship's gonna go through the debris, flies over it. Awesome stuff with the technical aspects. For me, real quick, I wrote this down because I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna remember all this. For the story element, I love that this was the first time we've seen that the New Republic is really in disarray and why. They really wanted a decentralized government. And that was the big problem with what they had, obviously, beforehand with a dictator, essentially. And so, yeah, they've spread everything out and they don't have a whole lot of resources anymore. When you see that, they've got this amnesty program they put together, but it's really interesting because they treat everyone that's in it like they're nothing. Right? They have to stay within
They
these
don't even have
confines.
names.
They don't
Yeah,
even
I
have
love it.
names. They strip them of entirely any sort of identity. You wear these clothing or these pieces of clothing. You do this, you do this. And you are definitely seen as others in society as a result. So they're never really able to get back and like function as a normal citizen for that reason. So, and if they need to talk to someone about any issues they have, if they're dealing with any mental struggles, here's this droid who clearly does not care or
Yeah.
understand. It's like a
Tell
feedback
me
for
if
him.
you are depressed.
Yeah, and it's just like Dr. Pershing, I do believe, would have talked to someone if he had the opportunity, which is
Mhm.
really interesting because there's a lot of moments where this episode, Dr. Pershing reminded me of Anakin Skywalker, where he's
Mm.
dealing with something and they pose it. He's in the opera house, the same one that Palpy and Anakin were in. And he's talking about, I had this power. I really wish I could have saved my mother, but now I'm going to try to use it to save other people, whatever. Like that was the purpose, right? For science, I wasn't bad. I wanted to do this. Anakin's like, I'm not bad. I'm just trying to save people, whatever. Through instead of, the Force, it's science. So, but just like Anakin's story, Anakin goes to Yoda. Yoda's not listening. This guy, he maybe would talk to someone, but here's this droid, right? Clearly doesn't care. So there's a problem with the current system right now. The New Republic doesn't care. Dr. Pershing is in this position where he could offer a lot of value with scientific research. Instead, they're like, go push some pencils. Yeah, you're a criminal, but we're gonna be nice to you. Push some pencils, get rid of data. That's your job. Just get rid of it. Even if it's useful, get rid of it. And he just sees how much is being wasted in this new government. So he's striving to do good with others who, could suffer the same fate of his mother. But with this government being decentralized and vulnerable, this episode highlights how disorganized and weak this current state is. There's no requests to be heard. No one really, again, cares for his mind, his skills, his experience. And it's just really interesting because you see now where you're like, wow, this is why the First Order was able to just fester and grow on the outer rim, because they're just, the New Republic is spread so thin on resources, and there really isn't a figurehead leading them or doing much of anything. And so now that's just a stagnant state waiting for something to happen. And so I loved that. From the immersive universe side, from the story side, that helps set up the sequels so much, in my opinion. And they did that by bringing in stuff from the prequels, sequels, the original. I mean, it was just awesome to see. Awesome to see from just like, if you care about that political side, great way to do it without burdening the audience to really care about trade agreements and everything else.
Definitely.
It did remind me of the clone soldiers, like the numbering, or at least rather that like they didn't learn from not treating the clone soldiers as beings. They just labeled the amnesty soldiers, and like it's frustrating, but it's also reflective of our real world, where it's like you can have a new government, but there's still going to be some of the same problems, even if they are the good guys. Like they're clearly not they haven't learned their lesson. And
I mean, they even use the mind flayer, and he's like, you're using a mind flayer. I mean, they're like, no, this isn't a mind flayer. This is a mind extractor beautification.
This is
it's awesome.
This is
it was a trap.
That was a nice
moment. That was funny.
He had the most bruh face.
Like, are you kidding me?
We don't cite Akbar.
No, I also wanted to point out that we start off with Dr. Pershing presenting in the Opera House, where he's kind of talking about his history with the Empire and his research. And in his presentation, he says, I assure you that my original intentions are good, or were good. And he kind of makes this pause and he pulls on his ear. And at that point in the episode, I'm like, okay, is he getting a signal from someone? Is he just traumatized and he's taking a moment to like collect his thoughts, because then he starts talking about his mother? Or is this a tell that he's lying? And then we get the answer to that question later on when he is the droid have any feelings of towards the New Republic, and he pulls his ear again. Does that mean he also didn't actually have good intentions? Is that where the lie was? Like, did he know always what it was? But then if you think about it, I don't know. This isn't what I signed up for.
Yeah.
And he did try to protect the kid that first season.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this kid's innocent. Like, don't.
I thought it was more like.
What else is he lying about?
Yeah, I don't know. I do think, though, it doesn't help. I was kind of thinking, I don't know, these situations, and I was liking what you were talking about, Brody, but I kind of hesitate all as decentralized, because there's still a lot of bureaucracy in the way. And those, I think, kind of don't go hand in hand. And there's a lot up against. And to their credit, I'm glad there's like, when they first usher in this amnesty program, I'm like, oh, that's like the second chances to show like we can provide a way to do that. And there's going to be this where obviously you're not just going to be like, hey, welcome, we're going to consider you one of us 100%. I think part of that transitionary period is, unfortunately, like, I don't like that they did, dehumanize them or put numbers on them. But I think that's part of that flawed thinking. And there's a clear transitionary period, a testing period. But I think if he really wanted to help, I think you should at least show that you've tried to go through the bureaucratic processes to show that they're not working.
Yeah.
But like here, I don't even think he really tried. He like didn't submit the form, or he didn't even ask his like supervisor to submit the form or whatever. And it's like, I think you could have at least showed or like made some more efforts just to show that it didn't work, or maybe
he didn't want a paper trail.
Yeah, I think if you want to build a case for yourself to be innocent, you should build that paper trail. But at the same time, though, it did work to get the point across that there's just too much bureaucracy in all this. But
this was the most like Andor episode
very
of
Andor-like.
Mandalorian.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to say it's the most Last Jedi episode of Mandalorian. So much so that we even got the
Those
Battle
guards.
of Crate. Oh, the guards
Like those
too.
police guards. That was when it really hit me. I was like, oh, Last Jedi.
Yeah, no. Other than like it being like sort of a kind of hidden veil of like a side quest, right? That gets derailed and is about failure. When they are in the story, I noticed that you have like the Battle of Crate, the dun 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 dun,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
that was playing in the background, and that made me so excited.
But wasn't that first used in The Force Awakens? Over
Yes.
that's yeah.
Oh, okay. I associate it with The Last Jedi.
Look,
Regardless, it was there. The music was
and
fresh and
they used,
awesome.
and I'm
I
pretty
love
sure
the
didn't they
fresh
use
music.
Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but didn't they use the opera house theme?
Yeah,
when he's going back to
Palpatine's teachings.
yes, he's
like
he's
the epic
deep
chanting,
chanting.
when like
Yep,
Dr. Pershing
yep.
kind of has his moment of resolve, like I know what I'm gonna do now, and they
Mhm.
played that with the cello, and I was like, this is music.
I
This is
Poetry.
space
I
opera.
felt like okay. Some people were like, oh, like there was one person who said, well, that's because somehow he's gonna through all this they're gonna bring Pelagus back because that's what the story was about. I don't think so. Sometimes they're like, oh, that's just like indecision and resolve. I'm like, I don't think so. I think that somehow it's showcasing like with the opera house and everything else. It's Palpatine's plan at work. He was
Yeah.
planting seeds, doing things. Palpatine may be gone, but it's kind of like his spirit still exists. And through this
Somehow,
action,
Palpatine
it's going to lead to
returned.
Palpatine's return. And it's all his plan, his scheming. And I think that's what that was all about. But what do you think here? What all this stuff? There was a lot of stuff that people walked out of this episode. What's Bo-Katan gonna do? What's happening here? Is our doctor perishing? Whatever. Is he gonna be a vegetable now? What are the answers to all these questions from your perspective?
I mean, you told me to save my hot takes, so I'm saving my hot takes.
Oh yes,
But
please do.
without saying those. No, I mean, I think we're supposed to be wondering, right? I think that's
Yeah.
the whole point. We were not supposed to know, and I love that. I love that
too.
the bad guys don't look so bad and the good guys don't look so good. I think
Yes.
that life is all about the gray.
Mhm.
But
And
except Baby Yoda,
well,
he is eternally
have-
good.
I have a hot take about that too. But
Ooh.
Oh snap! I'm excited.
KG is in the comments here and says, so is Dr. Pershing Mando's version of Andor's Cyril Karn
Ooh.
with travel biscuits rather than cereal? And I think there's a case to be made.
I think, and to add to that, I like that Hyperspace Heroes Brown leader. He said he was conflicted for most of the episode. This is the purple popsicle. We've got this gray area, this gray of
Ah, I
Andor,
didn't
the
even pick
purple
up
of
on
Dr. Pershing.
Oh yeah.
Alliteration. I love it.
Like I said, there's a lot of folks online who did not like this episode, who thought, why did you introduce all of this? It's just like when Mando took over in the episode of Book of Boba Fett. My biggest thing is if this just stands alone as its own episode and it doesn't build any further story, okay, yeah, you've got a case to be made. I don't think that's true at all. I think this is a kicking off point for something really, really big. And I think arguably in Mando, this is the first time we've seen stuff as monumental as what we're going to see in this episode. You do see the disarray with the New Republic. You start to see, well, where is this giant fleet of ships coming from to go after Bo-Katan? Could it be Thrawn? Is Moff Gideon actually in prison? We know Thrawn's around and on the Outer Rim. So what's going on there? There's other questions as well that that you were asking at the very end here that I'm just like, I don't really know.
But aren't you glad that you don't know?
Yeah,
You
the
don't-
mystery. The exposition.
But that's what I'm saying.
Successive.
Fans are saying, well, this just it's just filler and it's weird. I don't care about Dr. Pershing. And I'm saying, well, there's something brewing. And this is the beginning. We already know it's going to lead to Palpatine. We know it's going to lead to the rise of the First Order. And it was so cool to see it done in this way. And yeah, anyway.
No, I'm with you. I think calling things filler is overused and makes me angry sometimes because I think it's like a good story is going to have all the perspectives, right?
Yes.
Like you want to have all that. Like you're not just. I'm trying not to get mad here. Like filler is important. Filler is the middle of the cake. You don't want just the shell. You know,
that's true.
There's nothing there.
It fills the Mando sandwich here.
Exactly. You need
I love filler.
You need the complexity. And like my favorite, some of my favorite Star Wars media is like the From a Certain Point of View books, which are like, you know, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, but told from like other perspectives. And you still get the story, but you get all this other flavor around it. And I just think that that's so rich and so rewarding. And like it's fun to hear, like when they're walking around, you hear all the different music and you get the mountain thing from the High Republic and like all this stuff. And it's just like that's fun. You need that filler, otherwise you're gonna go on to further media and it's gonna be empty and hollow and there's nothing to call back to, right?
So there's so much you can build out of this. That's such a great point. And it does propel the story further along. If the idea is to say, hey, Thrawn's back, there's something big here. And that's this season is the first season where it feels like almost like an Avengers show where there's something big coming. Like it's like Avengers Infinity War where
we got
really
going
together.
To try to bring Avengers into this and not talk about filler or
Thank you. Thank you.
I am not a Marvel person, and there's a reason.
There's a lot.
You lost some people.
I'm just saying, like, it feels like they're building something big here. This big immersive universe.
Tie it together, man.
Well, Hyperspace Hero says Omega was the first success of the DNA splicing that Pershing was describing, and it's why she's so important.
Top notch.
I think that's definitely what is being played, and I love that they have these two shows out right now that stories are sort of overlapping.
I need to get on that. I like what Jake said. He, I think, perfected it, the manwich, if you will.
Yeah,
it's a great point. With all that to be said, I think it's go ahead.
There's one last thing I wanted to bring.
And I have one more thing too.
Okay. This is why we need to check before we move on. Okay. I was really annoyed at how bright and colorful the Mandalorian armors are. Like, it reminded me of how like clean and shiny and bright the mopeds were from Book of Boba Fett. And I was sitting with that for a little bit and I was like, why don't I buy it? And then I realized it's actually the perfect cover to make Sabine blend in. Because she is the artist, she brings the paint and the color and style with her. So if you have all of these really colorful, eclectic, like they're not all in one color scheme. They all have really different expressions. It's like, oh yeah, Sabine did this, and she's just blending in right there.
I like that.
So that was sort of my little. I think that's how it's going to come into play, maybe.
Nice. I hadn't thought of that.
But don't Sabine and Bo already know each other?
They do.
They do.
I feel like something would be said.
She's not there yet.
He wants to blend in,
but ushering in.
I think it could be, definitely like her work. I would love to see that. That would be incredible.
Yeah. She's coming this episode, or is this season?
For sure.
Just like the storm.
Doesn't Dave Filoni direct the next episode? So maybe the next one. Right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Nice.
When are we getting Boba?
No,
that's all I'm asking each episode.
Christian, what were your final thoughts?
Well, getting back to Kier, what you were saying, you mentioned something about the books, and it reminded me that I like how this episode also played a kind of an homage to legend stuff, expanded universe stuff, where I remember like reading certain books, or especially like the Han Solo trilogy from the 90s. There are definitely a lot of scenes in Coruscant, just like walking around and like exploring and just kind of like the day-to-day when he was there for a time. And I thought of those books when I was watching this, and I got that feeling, and I was like, that's really special and cool. When I never thought like the Disney era live action show could capture that pretty well. And then also paired with like the tone of Dr. Pershing throughout this noir of Coruscant. It did also remind me of Blade Runner. I'm a big Blade Runner fan, and just kind of this gritty of the city, and I think also his obvious like wearing of the jacket and like looking like Deckard or whatnot. But I just liked these really hard leans into sci-fi, into the sci-fi of Star Wars.
Okay, I'm gonna nerd out because this is a perfect segue.
Let's
So
go.
Ralph McQuarrie, you know, one of the original
Yep.
artists, everything's like based off of like not just Star Wars but a ton of sci-fi.
Yes.
Has a drawing of Coruscant that looks just like what they did, and it's one of his original drawings. And so I'm sure that like when the Han Solo, or like I know a lot of Legends books did draw on Ralph McQuarrie drawings.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if the Han Solo trilogy like saw that Ralph McQuarrie drawing, included that in their text, and then also when they made the show went back to the Ralph McQuarrie drawing, so it's like the same place. You know what I mean?
Definitely. I wouldn't doubt it. And
Totally
like
possible.
for
Yeah.
sure. I think I saw someone, like the droid driving Dr. Pershing.
Yeah.
Someone was like, oh, that's like the exact droid model look that Ralph McQuarrie drew. You know, like,
Yeah,
so
I saw
cool.
that.
it's like relying on the old concept art. That's really
It's
cool.
brilliant. Love it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, any other thoughts before we move to the hot take segment?
What's our final rank?
Yeah.
It is an 88.53%.
Woo.
That's
Again,
top-notch.
if you weren't here at the beginning, that ranks as our second best TV episode of any piece of Star Wars content we've ever ranked. We're not comparing this against the movies. The movies compare against entire seasons. It's a holistic story.
You can check it out on the website if you would like more details on what episodes rank from what shows.
So yeah, this was a pretty good one. In fact, it's definitely the best episode of Mando. So yeah,
That's wild.
we're
to us.
To us.
Well, I mean, but we
Officially.
are the official rankers of Star Wars content. I don't see anybody else doing it, so not
We
those
got the
two.
numbers.
So I think we're the only ones. So I think we can say
Nice.
it's number 2. With that, let's go into the hot take segment.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
It is hot takes time. And I think we've all got some hot takes tonight. For myself, I don't know how hot it is. It's definitely a prediction, but I'm calling it before it happens. Just look at the spikes on her helmet. The armor is a Mandalorian. In fact, I think she's best. So I'll do it now. Drinking.
Back.
Okay, we're back.
Apologies, folks.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Crazy today.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
All right. We're bringing Kier back.
Hi.
Let's see. Hopefully we didn't lose everyone there. I know I lost all my momentum on my hot take. I tell you what. So we use a platform called StreamYard to do this show. Look, it's a pretty good platform historically. Tonight they're having server issues. So if you're having difficulty with this, the on-demand version of this is going up tomorrow. Also, the podcast is. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, stay in touch with us tonight because we haven't gotten to the bingo yet. So you're gonna want to hear the official numbers as they come out. But yeah, that's my take. She is a Mandalorian, specifically Rook cast, helped with the siege of Mandalore. Yeah, I think she's no good.
I think it's a hot take, but
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a reach. So I'm personally going to disagree with it.
Okay.
It's a hot take, and I don't know. I think the whole Mandalorian type thing is very interesting to me, but I also am gonna disagree. At least I hope that's not the fate of her. I don't know, in this show.
Kurt, what do
I
you think?
totally agree. I love it.
We have 2 disagrees and an agree. So I've unfortunately have been outvoted. So Boba,
I got a bad feeling about this hot take.
all right, Kira, you've been teasing it all night. What's your hot take?
Yes.
So my hot take is that Dr. Pershing is not as much of a good guy as we think he is. So bringing back to what Amanda said about the ear thing, when he was giving his speech and he rubbed his ear and then he talked about it, I think he was lying. I think
About
he was
his mom?
about a cover story so that the rebellion or the Republic would have pity on him more. Like, remember after the scene, the people were like, "Oh, you're so brave! Oh my gosh, you're amazing!" You know, and like, "Oh, I'm not a bad guy. I'm a good guy. This is just something I have." Because the next time we see it, he lies and he says, "Oh yeah, I'm not angry." And I think he is genuinely not, like, you pointed out how he didn't do paperwork. He just ran straight to it. Like, he didn't report anybody. Like, I don't think he's that good of a guy. I think he's kind of a weasel.
Nice.
And he was
Judas.
he was just as willing to like start his work again. He had this whole speech about, "Oh, my work was amazing. I got twisted." And then he's just like, "Oh, I'm going to do it again and it's going to be fine." Like, no,
The
I don't
ultimate
think he's
poser.
Yeah. I don't buy it.
So I personally, this is gonna lend to the next segment. If you're playing our bingo, then we're gonna touch on this. So I won't touch too much on it. But actually, what better place than right now to debate this, Christian? Talk
Oh.
about this. So if you're playing bingo with us, we have one thing, only one new slot that could be debated, and that's category number 12 or item number 12, which says Dr. Pershing repents. I think right now, in this hot take, it's going to determine whether or not that bingo gets called off this week. I'm going to say when he was up there, he sincerely had a repentant heart. In that moment of his life, he was apologetic for his actions and what he helped facilitate. Whether or not he's bad, I do believe he said, well, yeah, as you said, I think he is kind of a weasel. I do agree. I also think, though, when he was up there, it's not that he wasn't lying. He was having his twitch. He's a little nervous. I do think in his heart, he was repentant, but ultimately was very easy. It was, again, it reminded me so much of the Garden of Eden, where he was Eve in this case. And it didn't take much for the snake to come in and say, well, you want what is good, right? God wants this for you. So why don't you eat from it? Like, God wants you to live. God wants this. God wants this. Like, just do it. And in her case, it's, well, isn't the first priority do what's best for the New Republic? So, okay. And so I think it was very easy for him to talk himself into it because it's what he wanted. And he doesn't inherently hate the New Republic. I think he likes it. I think he wants to be a part of it. But he also just wants to have his cake and eat it too. And for that reason, so I do think he's a weasel. But I also think he was repentant when he was up there and apologetic for his actions.
So do you agree or disagree with her hot take?
I agree that he's a weasel. Is the hot take that he's a bad dude?
Yes.
I'm going to agree. I'm going to agree with that. But I also think he was repentant when he's up there. So both are true. You can be a bad guy who's sincerely sorry.
I mean, Anakin, right? When he repented as Vader, right? Bad guy, but he repented. Still a bad guy, right? Like, it doesn't make all of his actions just gone. You know, Anakin still is accountable, or Vader is still accountable. I don't know. That's a whole different conversation. But anyway.
Oh yeah. All right, Amanda, what do you think?
I agree, and I love that you bring up the idea that he's lying about his mom, and like that origin story is like the big lie, because that's way more heartless. I think, like, using that story
Yeah.
to gain sympathy. So I'm gonna agree with the hot take.
I think it's a solid hot take. Everything on paper kind of like fleshing it out more. Everything on paper kind of leans more towards him being a fraud, but watching him, and then also I'm just pulling him from season 1 and just like that timid heart or whatever. Like I kind of also lean towards hoping he's the repentant guy, like that he's that he is seeking true repentance, trying to help out. I do think he's sincere. So I'll disagree, but I think it's a good hot take, and I could very well be wrong. And I think that's what was part of making this episode great, is like that purple complex nature of what's going on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 2 of the 3 vote you up. So that's a good take. You get it.
Right.
Nice.
Roger. Earned it. All right. So I guess so we're saying he's repentant. We can mark that off the bingo.
Yeah.
If you had number 12, feel free to mark that off.
And if he has a bad relapse, we'll take it back.
I mean, he's kind of a veggie now.
Kind of gone, yeah.
He's kind of
You
not.
never know. It could pull through, eh? What was that? That Mon guy? He's like, I had the treatment myself, and it was quite nice. It was just
Quite relaxing.
Quite relaxing.
Yeah.
Oh no, please don't. Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay,
It's
good.
There you are.
We finished watching The Last of Us.
Mm.
And that is a great TV show. Highly recommend it. Pedro Pascal is also on that show. But we're thinking about part 2 now, which has been confirmed. And my hot take, which maybe you guys won't even be able to comment on, maybe this is milquetoast already, but I think I played Elia in this episode should play as Abby in The Last of Us 2.
I could see it.
And
yeah, I could see it.
I would think she would kill it.
Oh, totally.
Now, I think that's same. Others of mine were ruffled in this case.
I
That's horrible.
Hello.
take her. So this is Amanda back at my desk.
Hi.
Since we are having technical issues.
All good. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry to keep you hanging there. I think the guys are joining back in.
No worries. It's okay.
We'll see.
Maybe this will work. Maybe. Still super choppy.
Oh, here. What
Yes.
do you
Hi. I heard you say my name, but everything else
Candace.
is frozen. Mm.
milquetoast take?
Yikes.
I see her on my screen before I see her on there.
That is super embarrassing. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I think I've earned a milquetoast after all of that. I think I broke the milquetoast take.
You know, I think it's just StreamYard. We can't even blame you this week. But we don't home for toast this week. I'm sorry, Amanda.
Or should we do it for the? Should we go on continue for the local recording, like as normal?
Yeah, maybe we hang up with.
Let's all imagine. Live stream, and then we'll just give me a second. Continue our recording.
Hi. Hello.
Okay, guys. We are experiencing some technical difficulties. Thank you again, Kerr, for rolling with us. But I think we can try to roll into. Do you guys want to try to roll into trivia time just like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to hang up so you can just do it locally, or what's easiest?
We are still recording locally. Let's just Brody, do you have a take on this?
Should we just
finish the episode this way?
And then we'll just be like, all right, now it's trivia for the local recording.
Yeah, I'll get us there. Just let me try this real quick. So I'm now connected with that didn't work at all. Okay.
Hi.
Hi. Oh man.
So sorry.
Sorry about it.
KG says in the comments other YouTubers have had the same problem lately. So I think it's been a StreamYard issue across the board, which is disappointing. Brody, what do you want me to say?
We'll just talk about YouTube for a second until I can see if I can save this.
Amanda, I didn't hear what your take was. I think it was that the actress should be Abby from First Yellow.
Yes, I think that Katie O'Brien should be the actress who plays Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. But I don't know if you've been following that show or.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I know what happens. I think she could totally pull it off. I would love to see it.
Yeah, I think she has the right build and the right demeanor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my hot take, but I don't think it's the appropriate hot take for the show, maybe.
It's a good hot take, though. I'm with you. Did you see that the actress from the game was one of the nurses in the shot?
Oh, yeah, Laura Bailey.
Yeah, Laura Bailey, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, big fan.
That's cool when a video game can do that. Or
bring
a show can do that from the video
Yeah,
game.
totally.
Definitely.
Okay. We're back-ish. I'm not gonna jinx ourselves. We'll just see. Amanda, where we left this last, the take was milquetoast. So that leaves us with no other choice but to play.
You fool! Your take is milquetoast.
Praise the Lord, it worked. If you're listening to the audio-only podcast, which was masterfully edited by a podcast audio editor, you won't know of any of the problems that our poor guest and live audience tonight had to put through to get with our show. But you know what? It's we're at the 1 yard line. We're football there. And for all of you non-sports fans, that just means we're close to the end, and
Yeah.
we're gonna get a touchdown.
We're gonna do a quarterback sneak.
We're gonna score here.
All right.
So, with the last segment of the show, let's close this out with some trivia time.
Yes.
This is the way to trivia time!
It is trivia time. So, couple questions real quick. First one. What did Princess Leia tell Luke Skywalker when he saw her being escorted by stormtroopers in Cloud City? A. Go back, Luke. B. Watch out for Darth Vader. C. It's a trap. Or D. They have Han.
I'm gonna go C. It's a trap. Infamous.
It's a trap.
Kier, what are you thinking?
C, definitely it's a trap.
It's a trap. It is a trap indeed. That was very on brand for this
It's like,
episode.
shut back.
All right. Now, one more from that same movie. How many AT-ATs were spotted on Hoth? A, 6, B, 5, C, 9, or D, 4?
I'm gonna go 4.
I was thinking a smaller number. Yeah, 4.
All right. 4. Kier?
trying to remember.
I don't know why I just threw my card away.
Yeah, it's 4. I'll go with 4.
All right. The answer is 5.
Oh,
Got us with the odd number.
dadgummit.
Do you even watch these movies? No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't have got that right at all. At all. Funnily enough, Kier, that's actually how I think you were introduced even to our show. You're killing it on Star Wars trivia yourself. So I should have known you were going to get some of these right, some of these hard ones.
I do love Star Wars trivia. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever played Star Wars. No, I have. I played Star Wars trivia once, and I was on a winning team, and I didn't contribute much. So
But you were on the winning team.
I
so-
was on the squad. I was very good moral support. I don't know the names. I like Star Wars, but I'm not.
Hey, that's okay. You don't have to. Everyone's got their own thing with Star
You're
Wars.
still a Star Wars fan,
Yeah.
even if you don't know all the names.
It's okay.
Yeah. Wow. You
Absolutely.
guys are so supportive.
It's
I-
true.
This is like therapy for me.
You know what? And you know who else has been supportive is Kier this episode, dealing with so much of our technical issues and
Yes.
rolling with the punches.
Totally fine. It was fun. Thank you. for being on.
Yes.
So thank you. Where can our listeners find more of your content?
Yeah, I'm mostly on TikTok at Mandaklorian, but also Twitter and Instagram. And I'll be at Star Wars Celebration all 4 days.
Nice.
Woo!
Nice.
Woo.
We'll
Well,
be sure to catch you there.
Excellent.
heck yeah. Well, this has been a whole lot of fun. Folks, we're playing Star Wars bingo. And Mandalorian, you're in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're in the running. You've got a few things off yourself, I noticed. So I actually did tell the DOTR crew today there's a specific person I'm hoping wins. See if they do.
Can't pick favorites.
I picked. I do have a favorite listener. If you know, then you know. But we'll see if that person wins or not. But as the rules state, if that person gets a bingo, I won't tell them.
Yeah,
or
you
her.
have to tell us that you have a bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta come to us. You gotta
Hit it-
listen to the show.
Hit us up on Twitter.
Hit us up on Twitter.
Be watching your reference
Lis-
card.
The
Yeah.
moment it's called on the show is the moment you can submit to us, send it in that you got a bingo.
So number 12 is the only thing that you can mark off. For
Only
this
thing for
episode.
this week. But that's this week's episode
Yes.
of Duel of the Rings. It's been a whole lot of fun. We
Yeah.
got through it. We're okay. Kier was amazing with us. We had a
Oh.
good episode. Be a little bit better. Otherwise, thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, and we look forward to catching you next week for episode or chapter 20 of The Mandalorian in season 3. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Maybe we'll have Sabine Wren. See y'all then.